Today, the moon continues in Scorpio, Pluto's home territory, and after yesterday's emotional explosion, after days of suppressed rage surfacing, today is the day you realize why you're actually so angry. It's not about the small trigger. It's not about the thing your partner said or didn't say. It's about trust, deep, fundamental, bone-level trust that you realize you don't have. Maybe you don't trust them. Maybe you don't trust yourself. Maybe you don't trust love itself. But today, with the moon in Scorpio, the sign that sees beneath every surface, you can't pretend anymore. The trust issues you've been carrying for years, maybe decades, surface, and you have to look at them, because Pluto doesn't let you hide. Pluto forces you to see what's rotting in the basement of your psyche. And today, what's rotting is your ability to trust. Here's what makes today different from normal relationship doubt. Everyone has moments of "do they really love me?" Everyone has insecure thoughts, but today isn't insecurity. Today is something older, deeper. Today is the wound from the first time someone you loved broke your trust. The wound from the parent who abandoned you. The wound from the partner who cheated. The wound from the friend who betrayed you. The wound from yourself when you made a terrible decision and suffered the consequences. Today, that ancient wound opens, and everything in your current relationship gets filtered through that wound. Your partner is late coming home. You're convinced they're cheating. They're distant. You're convinced they're leaving. They don't text back immediately. You're convinced they don't care. That's not intuition. That's trauma. That's Pluto pulling your trust issues to the surface so you can finally heal them. And here's what's dangerous. Mercury is still retrograde in Pisces. Mars is still in Pisces. Your communication is underwater. Your anger is unclear. So even though you're feeling this deep mistrust, even though you want to confront it, you can't articulate it without it sounding crazy. You can't express, "I have a wound from childhood that makes me unable to trust anyone who gets close to me," in a way that doesn't sound like, "I think you're cheating," even though you've never given me a reason to think that. Today, your trust issues are surfacing, but your ability to communicate them clearly is compromised. So you're stuck between knowing you have a problem and not being able to address it without destroying your relationship. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening today. Why Pandora, the Greek woman who opened the forbidden box and released all evils into the world, shows us that sometimes you have to open the box, look at what's inside before you can heal it. What Scorpio Moon with Pluto influence does to your ability to trust. Which 3 signs struggle most with trust issues surfacing today, and what you need to do when deep mistrust surfaces, because acting on it destroys relationships, but ignoring it lets the wound fester. Today isn't about whether you should trust your partner, it's about whether you can trust anyone, including yourself. Pandora had to open the box to find hope at the bottom. Let me tell you about Pandora. In Greek mythology, she's the first human woman created by the gods as punishment for humanity. And here's her story. Prometheus steals fire from the gods and gives it to humans. Zeus is furious. He wants to punish humanity, so he creates Pandora. Beautiful, curious, and fatally flawed. He gives her a jar, mistranslated as box for centuries, and tells her never ever to open it. And then he sends her to live among humans, knowing that curiosity is her fatal flaw, knowing she won't be able to resist, and she can't. Days pass, weeks, months. The jar sits there, sealed, forbidden, and Pandora becomes obsessed. What's inside? Why can't she look? What are the gods hiding from her? And eventually, she can't stand it anymore. She opens the jar, and out fly all the evils of the world. Disease, death, war, famine, jealousy, betrayal, suffering. They escape into the world and humanity is cursed forever. Pandora slams the lid shut, but it's too late. Everything terrible is already out, and she's destroyed the world. But here's what most people don't know about the myth. At the very bottom of the jar, one thing remained: hope. The one thing that allows humans to endure all the suffering. Pandora released, and some versions of the myth say that's why Zeus gave her the jar in the first place. Not to punish her for opening it, but to force her to look at all the darkness so she could find the one thing that makes darkness bearable: hope. Today, you're Pandora. The jar is your psyche, and inside are all the trust issues you've been keeping sealed, all the betrayals you haven't processed, all the wounds you haven't healed, all the ways you learned love isn't safe. And Pluto, through the Scorpio moon, is forcing you to open the jar, to look at what's inside. And yes, it's going to be dark. Yes, you're going to see terrible things, old wounds, deep fears, fundamental mistrust. But here's the thing. You can't heal what you don't look at. And at the bottom of your trust issues, underneath all the fear and betrayal and pain, there's hope. There's the possibility that you can learn to trust again, but only if you're brave enough to open the box first. What's actually happening astrologically and why Scorpio moon makes trust impossible? All right, let me break down what's happening, because today is astrologically designed to surface your deepest relationship fears. The moon is in Scorpio for the second day. Yesterday, Scorpio moon brought rage. Today, it brings what's underneath the rage, fear. Specifically, fear that you can't trust the people you love. Scorpio is Pluto's territory, and Pluto rules the underworld, the shadow, the things you've buried, the wounds you don't want to look at. When the moon is in Scorpio, your emotional body descends into the underworld. You feel everything that's been repressed, everything you've been avoiding, everything that's festering in the dark. And Pluto is in Aquarius right now, squaring Scorpio's fixed water energy with fixed air energy. Aquarius is detachment, intellectual distance, the observer. So there's a square, a 90-degree tension between deep emotional intensity, Scorpio, and detached observation, Aquarius. And that square creates a specific kind of psychological torture. You're feeling intense emotions about trust, but you're also watching yourself feel them. You're aware that your mistrust might be irrational. You can see that your partner hasn't actually done anything wrong, but you can't stop the feeling that they're going to betray you, that they're lying, that they're going to leave, that love isn't safe. Here's what that means practically. You wake up today and you look at your partner and you don't trust them, not because they did something, but because something in you, something old, something wounded, is screaming that trust is dangerous, that the moment you fully trust someone, they'll destroy you. And you start looking for evidence. You check their phone, you ask pointed questions, you watch how they interact with other people, you replay past conversations looking for inconsistencies. You're investigating them, not because they're suspicious, but because you don't know how to trust. And there's more. Venus is now in Aries, the sign of Mars, the warrior. Venus in Aries wants what it wants immediately. It's impatient, demanding, aggressive in relationships. So not only are you feeling deep mistrust, Scorpio moon with Pluto influence, you're also feeling entitled to answers now, Venus in Aries. You want your partner to prove they're trustworthy, to give you evidence, to make you feel safe. But here's the problem. No amount of evidence makes trauma feel safe. No amount of proof heals a trust wound. You could have access to their every movement, every conversation, every thought, and you still wouldn't trust them. Because the problem isn't them. The problem is the wound you're carrying that says people who love you will hurt you. Here's what happens today, specifically. Your partner does something innocent. They don't tell you where they're going. They're on their phone more than usual. They seem distant, something small, and your Scorpio moon with Pluto influence says they're hiding something, and suddenly you're convinced, not suspicious, convinced. You know they're lying. You know they're betraying you. You know this relationship is about to implode, but you don't have evidence. You just have a feeling so strong, it feels like truth. And that's Pluto. That's the wound, speaking. That's trauma, mistaken for intuition. Scorpio, your ruling planet is exposing the trust wound you've been carrying since childhood. If you're a Scorpio sun, moon, or rising, today the moon is in your sign for the second day. And yesterday was rage. Today is what's underneath the rage. Terror. Terror that you can't trust anyone. Terror that everyone will eventually betray you. Terror that love is a weapon people use to destroy you. And that terror isn't new. It's been there since the first time someone you loved hurt you. Maybe a parent, maybe a first love, maybe a friend. But someone taught you that trust is dangerous. And you've never unlearned that lesson. Here's what specifically happens for Scorpio today. You look at your partner and you realize you don't trust them. Maybe you never have. Maybe you've been pretending. Maybe you've been testing them constantly without even realizing it, setting little traps, watching for signs of betrayal, keeping part of yourself back so they can't fully hurt you. And today, you become aware of it. You see the ways you've been protecting yourself, and you realize those protections are also preventing intimacy, that you can't simultaneously protect yourself from betrayal and fully love someone. That trust requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like death to you. Here's your specific work for today. First, your intuition is real, but your trauma is also real. And sometimes trauma disguises itself as intuition. Learn to tell the difference. Intuition is calm knowing. Trauma is anxious hypervigilance. Second, not everyone is your ex. Not everyone is your parent. Not everyone is the person who first broke your trust. Your partner is a different person. Treat them like one. Third, trust isn't all or nothing. You don't have to choose between complete vulnerability and complete protection. You can trust incrementally, test the water, give a little trust, see if it's honored, give a little more. Today, Scorpio, you're seeing the trust wound you've been carrying. Don't run from it. Don't act on it impulsively by sabotaging your relationship. Sit with it, feel it, acknowledge it, and then decide, are you going to let this old wound control your present relationship? Or are you going to do the work to heal it? Cancer and Capricorn, you're learning that emotional walls you built for protection have become your prison. Now Cancer and Capricorn, Sun, Moon or Rising. Today's Scorpio Moon squares your signs, and the square exposes something painful. The emotional walls you built to protect yourself from being hurt have become the walls of your prison. Cancer, you protect your heart by withdrawing, by going into your shell, by making people prove they're safe before you let them close. But the problem is no one can ever prove they're completely safe. So you keep people at arm's length forever, waiting for certainty that never comes. Capricorn, you protect your heart by staying in control, by being self-sufficient, by never needing anyone so deeply that losing them would destroy you. But the problem is that also means never loving anyone so deeply that it transforms you. Here's what specifically happens for Cancer today. You realize you've been emotionally unavailable without meaning to be. You thought you were being protective, careful, wise, but actually, you've been terrified. You've been keeping your partner on probation, waiting for them to prove they won't hurt you. But they can't prove that. No one can. And your constant testing is creating the distance you're afraid of. You're creating your own abandonment by never fully letting them in. Here's what specifically happens for Capricorn today. You realize you've been treating love like a business transaction. You give this much, they give that much. You control your investment so you never lose more than you can afford. But love doesn't work like that. Love requires risk. Love requires giving everything with no guarantee you'll get it back. And your refusal to be vulnerable is preventing the depth you claim you want. Here's the work for both of you today. First, walls that protect you from pain also protect you from love. You can't selectively numb, you can't protect yourself from hurt without also protecting yourself from joy. Second, trust isn't certainty. Trust is choosing to be vulnerable even though you know you could be hurt. That's what makes it trust. Third, your partner can't heal your childhood wound. They can't prove they're different from your parent, your ex, the person who first hurt you. You have to choose to trust them despite not having proof. Today, Cancer and Capricorn, you're seeing that your protection has become your cage. The walls you built to keep hurt out are also keeping love out. And you have to decide, are you going to risk being hurt again, or are you going to stay safe and alone? Taurus and Leo, your need for control is creating the distrust you're trying to prevent. Okay, Taurus and Leo, Sun, Moon or Rising, today's Scorpio Moon creates tension with your fixed signs. And what surfaces is this? Your need for control in relationships is creating the exact distrust you're trying to prevent. You don't trust, so you control. But your control makes your partner feel suffocated, and their suffocation makes them pull away. And their pulling away confirms your mistrust. You created a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your trust issues are manifesting the very betrayal you're afraid of. Here's what specifically happens for Taurus today. You need security, predictability. You need to know your partner will be there tomorrow and the day after, and the day after that. And when you don't feel that security, you try to create it by controlling. You track their location, you monitor their friendships. You need to know everything, and you tell yourself it's because you care, but it's because you don't trust. And your partner feels it. They feel monitored, controlled, suspected, and it makes them want space, and their need for space makes you panic and control more. That's the cycle, that's today. Here's what specifically happens for Leo today. You need loyalty, absolute, unquestionable loyalty. You need to be the center of your partner's world, and when you feel like you're not, when they're distracted, busy, focused on something else, you interpret it as betrayal, as them not choosing you, and you make them prove their loyalty, constantly, dramatically, and they get exhausted. They can't perform devotion 24/7, and their exhaustion reads as lack of love to you, and that confirms your mistrust. That's the cycle. That's today. Here's the work for both of you today. First, control is not love. Monitoring is not trust. Demanding constant proof of loyalty is not security. Second, your partner's need for autonomy is not abandonment. Their need for space is not betrayal. Their life outside of you is not disloyalty. Third, you're creating what you fear. Your mistrust is suffocating them, and suffocation creates distance, and distance confirms mistrust. Break the cycle. Today, Taurus and Leo, you're seeing that your need for control is destroying the trust you're trying to build, that your possessiveness is creating the exact abandonment you're terrified of. Let go. Not because trust is safe, but because control is suffocating, and suffocation always ends in leaving. The protocol and why you have to open Pandora's box to find hope at the bottom. All right, let me give you the protocol for today, because here's what people get wrong about trust issues. They think acknowledging them makes them worse. They think if they admit they have a trust wound, they're admitting they're damaged, broken, unlovable. But that's not true. Everyone has trust wounds. Everyone has been hurt. The question isn't whether you have a wound. The question is whether you're going to let that wound control your present relationships, or whether you're going to heal it. First, when mistrust surfaces today, pause before you act on it. Ask yourself, is this about my partner, or is this about my wound? If your partner has given you concrete reasons not to trust them, lying, cheating, betrayal, that's different. Address it directly. But if your mistrust is a feeling without evidence, that's your wound speaking. Don't destroy your relationship because of a wound that has nothing to do with them. Second, trace the wound back to its origin. When did you first learn that trust is dangerous? Was it a parent who abandoned you? A partner who cheated? A friend who betrayed you? Find the original wound. Acknowledge it. Grieve it. You can't heal what you don't acknowledge. Today, Scorpio Moon gives you access to that wound. Look at it. Don't run from it. Third, communicate the wound to your partner without making them responsible for it. Not, I don't trust you, but I have a trust wound from my past that makes me feel scared sometimes. It's not about you, but I need you to know I'm working on it. Vulnerability creates intimacy. Accusation destroys it. Fourth, if you realize your trust issues are severe, if you're constantly monitoring, controlling, suspecting without cause, that's not something you can fix alone. That's trauma. Get therapy. Do the deep work to heal the wound, because acting out your trust issues destroys relationships, but suppressing them makes you emotionally unavailable. The only solution is healing. And fifth, trust is a practice, not a feeling. You don't wait until you feel safe to trust. You choose to trust, and safety follows. Today, practice trust. Your partner says they'll be home at 7. Don't check their location. Trust them. They say they're with a friend. Don't interrogate them. Trust them. They need space. Don't panic. Trust them. Each act of trust, despite the fear, heals the wound a little. Trust creates safety, not the other way around. All right, today the moon continues in Scorpio, Pluto's home territory, and deep trust issues surface. Not normal relationship doubt. Ancient wounds. The wound from the first person who taught you love isn't safe. The wound from the betrayal you never healed. The wound that says if you trust completely, you'll be destroyed completely. Pandora opened the box and released all the evils into the world. But at the bottom of the box, she found hope. Today, you're Pandora. The box is your psyche, and inside are all the trust issues you've been keeping sealed, all the betrayals you haven't processed, all the wounds you haven't healed, and Pluto is forcing you to open the box to look inside. Yes, it's dark. Yes, it's scary. Yes, you'll see terrible things, but you can't heal what you don't look at. And at the bottom of your trust issues, underneath all the fear, there's hope. Hope that you can learn to trust again. Hope that not everyone will betray you. Hope that love can be safe. Do the protocol. Pause before acting on mistrust. Trace the wound to its origin. Communicate vulnerability without accusation. Get help if the wound is severe, and practice trust as an action, not a feeling. Today, open the box, look at what's inside, and trust that after you see the darkness, you'll find the hope at the bottom.